Then I said, so you people are going to send me to the void, and they said yes, but not to keep you there, and I mean we can't keep you there anyway, you have the powers of the one above all and the powers of Demon Lord Anos Voldigoad. No one can defeat you, not even Cassandra Nova can harm you, her powers won't even work on you. And I said, so you want me to do what you can't do? And they said, yes, we want you to do the impossible and convert her into a good guy. And then I said, if I agree to this, I want her to come back to Earth with me with one other, and you people are not to interfere with me ever again, no matter what I do with Cassandra Nova or whatever. Do we have a deal? And then he said, you have a deal, shake on it. And then I said, sure, and I shook his hand, and then I said, I'm ready for whoever wants to do it. And then the beautiful woman that had sex with me said, I'm so sorry for this, handsome. And then I said, it's fine, see you later, I hope, and I smiled warmly. And then she hit me with the baton, and then I was teleported to the void, and I landed right in front of Cassandra Nova's compound, and I was now standing in front of Cassandra Nova, and she said, hello handsome, my word, you're beautiful, oh guards please capture him. And then when she tried to use her powers on me, it didn't work, and she got a bit angry, and I said, I'm not your enemy, Cassandra Nova, I came here in peace. And she said, we will see, take him to my bedchambers please. And then Pyro and Juggernaut brought me in front of Cassandra Nova's bed, and she told Juggernaut to strip me of all my clothes, and then I said, there's no need for that, I'm no threat to you. And she, I know. And then Juggernaut took off all my clothes, and then she told all of them to leave, and I was holding my hands around my privates to cover myself. And then I said, is this really necessary, ma'am? And then she said, I have been alone here for many years and I am very horny, and you are the most beautiful and handsome man I have ever seen. And then she said, I'm sure you can guess what will happen next. And then she said, lay down on the bed, and then she took off all her clothes, and I saw her beautiful body, and it's perfectly curvy, and her boobs are also a perfect size, not too big and not too small either, just perfect. And she said, you little pervert, you're already excited, good, this makes it easier. And then she got on top of me and she rode my erect member for 10 hours, and she said, my god man, you're still erect. And she was sweating passionately, but I didn't sweat at all. And then I said, I am going to come now very soon. And then she moved faster and said, oh god yes baby, it feels so good, I fucking love it, oh your cock is so big. And then I went cross-eyed and I couldn't catch my breath, and then I exploded inside of Cassandra Nova and I came inside her vagina, and I knew I got her pregnant. And I said, it's fine, everything will be okay. And then she said, oh, I'm keeping you here with me alive, you're going to be my lover. And then she got handcuffs from a lot of places, and I said, I can kill that monster that's trying to eat all of you if you just allow me to do it. I'm not here to cause trouble, I was actually sent here to help you by the TVA. They wanted to sit down and meet with you and reach some sort of agreement in exchange. I was sent here to help you with whatever you need and want. And she said, oh, after last night you know what I want, darling. And then she took off my handcuffs and she threw me my clothes, and she said, okay, I will give you a chance to kill that thing that's after us, and if you try to run away or betray me you will regret it. And then I said, not everyone is out to get you, Cassandra Nova, but you should let me kill Pyro for you, I whispered, because I can read everyone's mind, and I knew the X-Men and your brother Charles Xavier. I saved his life, Cassandra, I saved Charles Xavier along with every other metahuman in my universe. And then she asked, why did you call us metahumans and not mutants? And I said, please don't say that word, mutants, I consider it a racist word, I hate that word, I'm a powerful mutant too, I'm also a omega level mutant with the powers of a god, literally. And then she said, no wonder you're so handsome and perfect. And then she grabbed a long chain and she bounded it to herself and my handcuffs, and she said, walk out. And then I said, okay, I'm going, but this is unnecessary, ma'am. And then she said, well, we are out here, can you do it or not? And then I said, give me a second. And then I stuck my hand up in the air, and then I began to absorb all the powers of the void monster, and I purified the powers too. In doing so, Cassandra Nova and her gang of criminals were no longer in any immediate danger. And then I said, remember what I said about him earlier? And I pointed to Pyro, and then Cassandra Nova said out loud, everyone be quiet, as I'm sure you have all noticed, we have a new very powerful member on the team. His name is James Sinclair. He just saved you all. He is welcome here.